Hey, what's up, everybody? How you guys doing tonight? Good. Yeah. Well, I'm super excited to be here, and Megan's message so encouraging, so good. And I'm super, excited and honored to be able to come and share with you and just hopefully encourage you with this message. But yeah, my name's Chris. In case you don't know me, you've probably seen me hanging around here. I've been going to South Point for a little over a year. And so yeah, like Josh said, I am not from Oklahoma. I'm not a native Okie. I am from California, born and raised there, moved last summer. And so I'm just going to share a little bit of my background and stuff. So when I say I'm from California, when you first think California, you probably think, oh, LA, San Francisco, the beach, beautiful weather. Yeah, that's not the part of California I was from, unfortunately. I was from the middle of the state, basically just desert and farmland, and just mountains just with nothing there. The city I'm from is called Modesto, and no one's heard of it because there is nothing notable about it at all. The only things that I can really say about Modesto is that we have a very high crime rate, and we grow a lot of nuts. So hey, if you like nuts or crime, that's the city for you. But if you're not into that stuff, like most sane people, you're probably better off staying away. Yeah, and I'm not exaggerating when I say that we grow a lot of nuts. When you drive into the city of Modesto, there's a sign that says Modesto, home of the nuts, because we have a minor league baseball team that's literally called the Modesto Nuts. And I'm not lying, this is a hat from the Modesto Nuts. Our mascot is a walnut. So I can't think of a less intimidating mascot. Most sports teams are like the Panthers, the Wildcats, the Vikings, the Titans, and we're the Nuts. So yeah, that's Modesto. But yeah, enough about that. As I was growing up, I grew up in church. I was born and raised by Christians. I went to a church that, my mom's family went to, my dad's family went to. I was a third, fourth generation, member of this church. And so Christianity, it was just kind of like the default option in life. I went through Sunday school, Wednesday night, VBS, all that good stuff. And I was like the perfect churchy student growing up. I said all the right things. I answered all the questions. I was the first to, volunteer to pray and help set up and tear down. I was a try-hard, I'm not gonna lie. And I was just like, man, I'm making everyone else look so much worse than me. I was that annoying kid in church. I know no one here is like that growing up. If you were, we still love you, it's okay. But yeah, the thing was, really, I was just kind of putting on an act while I was in church. Because outside of church, I was a totally different person. I basically was living just a totally different life. At school and outside of school with my friends and stuff, I wasn't speaking or acting the way I should, I was cursing all the time, I was getting up to mischief, some, little theft, vandalism, trespassing, but I was kind of a little delinquent, but you would have never known if you had saw me on Sundays, on Wednesdays, because I was just the perfect churchy kid, and I was like, man, I've got it all figured out. I was like, I found the life hack. I was like, I can just act this way in church, and I can do whatever I want outside of that, and then, boom, I get to go to heaven at the end of my life, and I'm like, that's all there is to it. And I'm like, wow, I can't believe no one has ever thought of doing this, right? Even though that's like what pretty much everyone does. So, but I was a little bit arrogant. I was like, I've got it figured out. Like, I'm just gonna go through life. I'm like, dude, life, this is easy mode. Like, whatever, anything that bad happened, I'm like, I can shake it off. I'm like, this is easy. I was like, nothing can stop me. And I thought that life was just gonna continue like that. And boy, was I mistaken, because that is not what happened. I became an adult, and reality kind of hit me like a truck, and I was just not prepared for it, So growing up, I was like, I don't have any big struggles, but when I was an adult, life started to change. I didn't really have a plan. I didn't know what I was doing, and I started to struggle with just not having direction and with anxiety and depression. And growing up, I was like, man, that's stuff that other people go through. Other people deal with that. That's not me, miss me with that stuff. I'm never gonna deal with that, and I was wrong. And I didn't know how to handle it, because I didn't put my trust in Jesus. I didn't give him access to all of my life, only when I was at church. And so I felt like I was just stuck and I didn't know what to do, right? I felt like I was just treading water. Like I'm trying not to drown. I'm trying to keep my head above the water, but I'm not going anywhere. Like I don't know what to do. I feel like I'm trapped and I can't see, around me. And so I didn't know what to do. And so something that people would tell me often when I would kind of say like, I'm struggling with this, they're like, well, just keep trying. And there's a light at the end of the tunnel. Like at the end of the road, there's a light and it's gonna be great. And I just got so sick of hearing that. People would say that, there's a light at the end of the tunnel. I was like, shut up. Like, stop saying that, stop talking to me. It's not helpful, when you're in, dealing with grief and sorrow and just anxiety, like, it's not always helpful to say, well, hey, just, tough it out, get through it. At the end of the road, Jesus is gonna be there, And it's true that Jesus will be there for you at the end of the road, but one thing that helped me was, I was looking at the wrong place. I was trying to look at the end of the road when I needed to look at where I was right at that moment. Because Jesus isn't just waiting for you at the end of the road. He's right there next to you right now, and he wants to help you, right? He's not at the end of the tunnel. He's not like, well, that guy, he's struggling. Well, hope it works out for him. It'd be cool if he made it. If not, oh, that sucks, right? He's not. He's right there. He sees where you are. He loves you. He sees you. And so I have two main takeaways from my message. I know Megan had 4, so her message is twice as good as mine. But I still have 2 main takeaways, and hopefully they help you out. And so my first main takeaway is salvation isn't just a destination, it's a journey, right? And so don't get stuck saying, I can't see the light at the end. I don't know which way to go, right? Look for the person of Jesus because he's right there with you. And he's like, I know you don't know where to go, but I do. So take my hand, follow me, and I'll lead you the right way. We don't have to stumble our way through the dark to reach Jesus. He's right there with us. And so I want to share a verse with you out of Matthew chapter 11, verse 20 to 30. If you have your physical Bible, you can read along. I don't have it, so if you do, you're better than me already. So, but here we go. Verse 28, then Jesus said, come to me, all of you who are weary and carry heavy burdens, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you. Let me teach you because I am humble and gentle at heart, and you will find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy to bear, and the burden I give you is light. And so this verse, super encouraging. One thing though, it doesn't mean that, life is always gonna be easy. Doesn't mean, oh, there's no more struggles, nothing bad's ever gonna happen to me. If anyone tells you that, tell them that they're a liar, and you can use me as the source. But I probably don't do that, but do it lovingly if you do. But yeah, so life can be difficult sometimes, but the only way to get to the destination is with the help of Jesus. He's saying, I'm gonna help you with the journey so that you can reach the destination of heaven. But he's just not gonna leave you on your own and, hope for the best, right? He's there and he's ready to guide you, right? And that's what the difference between Christianity is just, it's just a bunch of rules. It's just a bunch of guidelines that I have to follow and stuff. No, it's about a relationship with the person of Jesus. And he's right there with you through the whole journey, and he wants to be there for you. And so, so kind of switching gears a little bit. One of the things, said some things in life are difficult. One of the things that is difficult sometimes, especially when we're going through difficult times, is just looking at ourselves, in the mirror. And I don't know if you've ever been there or whatever, where you're just like, man, I just don't want to look at myself. And I mean, who's ever accidentally looked at their own reflection without expecting it and been surprised at your reflection? And you're just like, I look like, that's not what I look like. You're like, I'm gonna ignore that. We're moving on, right? When we don't expect it, when we don't want to look at our own reflection, sometimes we see it and we're like, that's not good. Especially when you just wake up in the morning, maybe you didn't get enough sleep. I think all of us kind of look like hideous monsters in the morning, whether we like it or not. Sometimes you just get up, you're not feeling good, you look in the mirror and you're like, what is that? You're like, oh, that's me. And you're like, I'm gonna ignore that. But the thing is, the thing is, right, to make ourselves look better, we have to look at our reflection, so we're like, okay, what do I need to fix? And that's what it's like as well in our spiritual lives. And in that way, the Bible is kind of like a mirror for our souls and for our hearts. And it's easy to read in the Bible about all the people that constantly mess up, they're disobeying God, they're just missing the point, not doing what they're, supposed to be doing. And it's easy to go like, haha, that guy sucks. That guy's an idiot. Like, good thing I'm not like that. And then you actually reflect and you're like, oh, I am like that. I am that idiot. And you're like, that's not good. I'm just going to ignore that. But don't ignore it, right? It's not always easy. It sucks sometimes to reflect on ourselves. But we have to, or else we won't be transformed by God's love. And so I have another verse to share with you out of James chapter 1, 22 to 24. But don't just listen to God's word. You must do what it says. Otherwise, you are only fooling yourselves. For if you listen to the word and don't obey, it is like glancing at your face in a mirror. You see yourself, walk away, and forget what you look like. And this verse is just describing me when I was going through life. I was like saying all the right things. I had everyone fooled, right? I had my parents, my teachers in church, the leaders fooled. I was fooling myself, right? I thought I could get away with this forever, but I couldn't. But there was one person who wasn't fooled, and that is God. And he helped me realize that and bring me out of that. Thankfully, kind of a spoiler for the end. Yeah, God transformed me. If he didn't, it'd kind of be a really depressing and sad message, but he did, so that's good. And so my second main takeaway for you guys is to be transformed, create a rhythm of reflection. Just get in the habit of reflecting on yourselves. Don't shy away from looking at the mirror. We're not always gonna like what our reflection looks like, both physically, but also in our hearts and spiritually. But to be transformed, we need to do this, right? Every day, it's an opportunity for us to see not just how far we still have to go, but also how far we've come already, right? Like Megan said, if you had told her when she was younger what she'd be doing today, she couldn't believe it. And the exact same for me. If you had told me in high school that I'd be speaking to you guys, well, first of all, that I'd be living in Oklahoma, I would have laughed in your face. But also that if I'd be up here speaking to you guys, I would have said that you got someone else. You got the wrong guy, man. And my friends too, they definitely, my school friends, they were like, that's crazy, that's absurd. Like, no, that's wrong. I remember when I was still in California, when I was leading at a church as a youth leader, and we were having a big fundraiser, and I was helping put it together and lead it, and a friend from high school showed up, and he was like, oh, like, hey, what are you doing here, man? I was like, oh, I actually, lead at this church. I'm helping run this event. And he's like, why? And he's like, do you have, court-mandated community service or something? And he's like, what is going on? I was like, no, bro, no. A judge did not make me do this. I'm doing this for myself. And that made me go, geez, I definitely wasn't doing the right things when I was younger. And so that was the moment where I needed to reflect. But it also helped me realize, wow, God has transformed me into someone that I couldn't have thought I ever could be, back then. The thing is, I still have more to learn. I still have so much more to grow and be transformed, If anyone tells you that they're done growing, they're done learning, call them a liar, You really shouldn't do that. I'm telling you to do that, but that's kind of a joke. So, but they are a liar if they say that. So, but I have another verse that I want to share with you. It's from the book of Lamentations, which people don't really talk about often, and people kind of pretend doesn't exist, but it's a good book, I swear. But anyway, Lamentations 3, 20 to 23. I will never forget this awful time as I grieve over my loss. Yet I still dare to hope when I remember this. The faithful love of the Lord never ends. His mercies never cease. Great is his faithfulness. His mercies begin afresh each morning. And so that's the thing. Each morning we have an opportunity to reflect on where we are today and reflect on how far God has taken us, but how far we still have to go. So every day, whatever that looks like for you, maybe you can journal, maybe it's just a type of prayer or listening to worship, but say, what's something that I did really good today? What's something that I did better than I could have done? How has Jesus helped transform me? But also, what do I still need to get better at? What haven't I done well today? So every single day is an opportunity to reflect. If we don't get in the habit of reflection, we're gonna eventually forget what we look like. And, it's going to be tough when we see our reflection, and we're not going to want to look at it. So, just because of the fact that God saw me where I was at, and, he helped me realize that I need to stop looking just at the end of the race, but I need to start looking at my next step and where I'm at now. It helped me be transformed, and it helped me just reflect on myself and see, man, I'm a totally different person than I was years ago. And I know years from now, I'm still going to be a totally different person. And it's all because of Jesus' power to love you where you're at and transform. And so I don't know your exact story. Maybe you relate to mine, maybe not. That's okay, because we all have our own story. But whatever your story is, if you don't feel Jesus around you, I promise he is there. Don't just look for the end. Look for Jesus, who's right there with you. And look and reflect on yourself, on how far you've come and how far you still have to go. Yeah, so that's what I have for you guys. And I'm just going to pray for you guys as we transition into the next part of the night. So if you guys would bow your heads with me. Dear God, man, I'm just so thankful for how you've transformed my life, that I would be here on a Wednesday with the opportunity to just share some of your word and just some encouragement from what you've done in my life with these students. I pray that wherever they're at in their own journey, that they just focus on you and they look to you to be the guide, and that you just help them be transformed by just reflecting on what you've already done and what you're just going to do. And I pray that we're just open, we open our hearts and minds to your just transforming love. And just, you know all of us, you know our stories, and you're just so faithful and you do so much for us. So I just thank you for the mercies and grace that you show us every single day. And I just pray that you bless all of us as we go through the rest of our night and throughout our week. And I just pray that all of this in your holy name, Lord Jesus. Amen.